coaches of offensive line. It's the Bob Wiley shirt. They gave us these. He does a big clinic every summer down in like Cincinnati where it's like 400 offensive line coaches. Almost every NFL and college offensive line coach, they get together, and then it's a shirt everyone gets. So we're honorary members. The Mushroom Society, as offensive linemen, we consider ourselves mushrooms because we get thrown in the corner of a dark room and people pile poop on us and then expect us to grow. So that's why we're mushrooms. You got to read the View from the O-Line book. It'll tell you all about it.
Joe, what's the coolest tweet or text or note you got from someone after passing 10,000?
Well, the coolest one was probably LeBron James. Obviously, he's not a guy that tweets all that often, and he's got a few more followers than me. So when he spent some time to go out of his way and tweet me, I thought that was pretty neat.
Did you say you played against him?
Never played against him, just in the same tournament. I remember he was a big deal back then even, and we went out of our way to watch him play just like a lot of other people that were there. And I mean, he was a stud back then even. Everyone knew back when we were even in middle school that he was going to be going pro right out of high school.
Where were you?
Vegas?
Vegas.
Yeah.
Were you eager to play against him and take him on the block?
I don't know if I would have been eager to play against him. He would have shown us up pretty good. They were on a really good team. He played on the Ohio Shooting Stars team, and they were pretty loaded. I mean, they had a really good team. They always made it really far, obviously because of him, but they had some other nice players too, and we were just a bunch of try-hard guys. We weren't very good.
The NBA wasn't for you?
No, I don't think so. 6 fouls, though. That's what I'd have to give. One more than in high school.
So, Joe, last week you mentioned that you don't like to be the center of attention, but since then, you know, we've seen you on, you know, Dan Patrick and, you know, Untitled Chapter and all over the place. So, you know, what has it been like?
All under duress at the direction of Dan Murphy. He said he was going to twist my arm if I didn't do those interviews. But no, it was good to do those interviews and talk about the streak and talk about the Browns. But I'm happy to get that all over with on Tuesday and move on to football stuff here and the Colts.
Did at any point, just because it's like seems like such a memory lane type thing, did it ever get emotional thinking about all this?
Not yet. I think there's just so many other things going on in an NFL game and even an NFL week that it's hard to really sit back and take it all in. And I think that's something that will probably happen in the offseason.
This is going about how you would have expected these first 2 weeks of the season with a rookie quarterback, so many new pieces, as far as the sack numbers, the offensive struggles, just kind of what you thought it might look like?
Well, I certainly hope that we'd be more productive on offense and that we would be 2-0 right now. But when you do have a rookie quarterback back there, obviously everyone else has to raise their game because no matter how good they are as rookies, how prepared they are, and DeShone's as prepared as any rookie I've ever been around, but there's still a huge gap with what they know and understand versus a quarterback that's been in the league 8 or 9 or 10 years, which is kind of where all the really good Pro Bowl quarterbacks start to hit their stride is sort of around year 7. And I mean, the difference between one training camp and a couple preseason games and like 7 years of experience is vast. And that's something that just can't be made up no matter what you do.
Sorry to go back, let me go back again. We saw a few of the tweets you got. You mentioned you got a ton of them. Any other people that you heard from that really meant a lot, other than the Browns?
Well, I think the video that the Browns put together with a lot of former teammates and coaches that were going out of their way to pay respects and talk about the streak was really neat. And obviously hearing from guys like Scott Fujita and former teammates and people that had a big part in it was pretty special because obviously without those people, the streak doesn't happen. They're just as much of a part of it as I was.
Hugh came in here a year ago and talked about wanting to play a vertical game. It's a league that's kind of going the opposite. A lot more short passes, a lot more timing things. For an offensive lineman, the challenges of that. I mean, this year you guys are among the top 10 in the league as far as passes downfield. What were the challenges for the offensive lineman?
So I see the vertical passing game sort of in two different respects. One is your double move, like deep concepts where there's crossing to push the ball down the field. So, excuse me. And that is the plays that take a lot of time. You have to hold your protections a long time. A lot of times those come off of play action because it gives you an extra couple seconds of a run fake before they can start rushing the passer. But then there's the vertical passing game where you're throwing to spots. A lot of times it's those back shoulder fade balls, those go balls that the ball's out of the quarterback's hand pretty quick, but it is getting pushed down the field. It's, beat your guy off the line and then just run down the field. And they're either going to throw it back shoulder or if you get on top of the DB, they'll throw it ahead of you. So those are more type of passes that Hugh likes to throw. And you could see that back when he was coaching in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton. He wants to throw the ball down the field with the go ball, the back shoulder fades, push the ball that way, not necessarily with the deep crossing concepts like a Norv Turner where he's throwing, double crossers and all these crazy X's and O's down the field, which do take a lot of time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that Hugh doesn't want to be a vertical passing game that takes a long time in protection. He wants the quarterback to hit his back foot, still throw the ball downfield, but not hold on to it as much as we have been. So I think, yes, we want to throw the ball downfield, but we don't want to be the type of offense that holds the ball to throw it down the field.
Have you noticed with, obviously, Kaiser's one of his strengths is his arm. Have you noticed you guys trying to make more of those throws with him? I know it's a very small sample size than last year, the first year.
Well, I think whatever quarterback you have, you're going to try to play to their strengths, and certainly DeShone has a good arm, so we are going to try to throw the ball down the field, take the top off the defense, make the safeties back up a little bit, especially versus the quarterbacks that we were playing with last year. They were Robert, notwithstanding, he was the guy with the big arm, but Josh and Cody, they were more accurate, underneath timing type throw quarterbacks, and so I think you may have seen more of that in the passing game. Now, this is an offensive lineman's perspective. I don't sit in the passing game meetings, so that's maybe a little bit of an assumption and something that maybe should ask them.
Hey, Joe, Hugh keeps saying the line is getting better, working together, and it'll get there pretty quickly, and you guys will be running like he wants you to. Where did you see specific areas? Where do you see improvement from week 1 to week 2, and where do you still need to kind of gel? Mm-hmm. Where will it show up the most, I guess?
Well, that's a tough question. I thought we played better in week 2 than we did play in week 1. The answer always with linemen is just playing a little bit better and being on your angles and your spots and your technique and blocking the right guys and doing it the right way a little bit more because it's a consistency game. If there was one thing that you could easily point to, you could always easily correct that, but it's never just one thing. It's like, you could have 10 great plays and then one play the guy might have just been off on the angle a little bit or the running back was off on the angle, and so it's just the coordination of everybody together is something that just being on the details and having experience in the offense, doing it together on live reps.
I mean, there's plays you look at in film and you go, 3 weeks from now, we wouldn't have made this mistake.
Well, hopefully we're going to continue to grow and get better. You look at some of the mistakes in the run game from last week, and you're going, okay, hopefully if we get that look again, the guy won't make that mistake. It's general and broad, but that's just how the run game works. You're just trying to say, all right, you saw that once. Hopefully you make the correction and you don't get beat on the same thing twice.
What have you seen in the run game? There's been a lot of talk this week about trying to get Crow going, get Duke going, get that. So from your perspective as a lineman, what do you see in there? What adjustments need to be made?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the problem in the first 2 games is we got behind early. We had turnovers in both games early on that put us behind in the game, and penalties that put you behind the sticks. Because if it's 2nd and 20, it's hard to be passionate about calling a run on 2nd and 20, just like it is on 3rd and long. So the important thing, I think, is to minimize penalties and lost yardage plays early on, in addition to minimizing turnovers and getting behind early in the game, because that's what skews the numbers at the end of the game as far as a run-pass ratio goes.
Has it been frustrating, not just with the offensive lineman room, but the offense in general, that you haven't been able to get the run going as well as you maybe have wanted to?
I think it's important not to let yourself get frustrated. I think, as a lineman, you go into the game and you try to do your job as well as you can, and whatever play is called, you don't really have time to worry about if it's a run or a pass or anything like that. So certainly we wish that our offense, the running game specifically, was more efficient. But I think that, going through the practice this week, making the corrections that we're making, hopefully we'll be able to be a little bit better in week 3 and keep the game close where we can get some runs called in the fourth quarter.
Pretty good.
Just one more comment real quick, just to try to educate everybody. I know you always hear a lot about like the 4.0 yards per carry, which is always sort of everyone's standard. Like, all right, if you're rushing for 4 yards a carry, that's a good run game. But actually, if you want to be a good running team, the most important stat to look at is rushing efficiency, which is a first down, a touchdown, or 4 yards on a carry. And if you are above 60% rushing efficiency, you've had a good rushing game. Because if you look at rushing in the NFL, you say, all right, we went for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 60. And then you go, oh, we're rushing really well. We've got a 7-yard average. But really, how are you going to get the offensive coordinator to call a run again if he's getting 1 and 2 yards and he's looking at 3rd and 7 all the time? So that's the most important stat to look at, is actually rushing efficiency. Is when you hand the ball off, are you getting 4 yards so that you're ahead of the sticks, so it's 2nd and 6 now or 3rd and 2? Or are you getting that first down, or are you getting that touchdown? That's what's going to allow you to get 20, 25, 30 carries in a game, and then you walk out of the game feeling good about getting your 100 yards or whatever it is at the end of the game, versus saying, well, you didn't have 4 yards a carry, but you were really efficient, so you did stay ahead of the sticks, and you were able to keep the offense on the field and be in manageable 3rd down. So just a little bit of education for you guys, in case you were wondering. I know you weren't, so.